Today I'm going to show you how to make an orange peel block, and for that you will have two template pieces. So you'll have an A and a B, which are the same and they are either side of your petal piece, which is C. So you will need to cut your pieces out first. I have cut this out of a standard template and I have added a little 1/4 inch extra here. We will trim that down later, but it does make it easier to sew when you've got more to hold on to here. So to begin, we're going to need just one of our AB pieces and our C piece, and we're going to lay them right sides up, and we're just going to fold it in half and create a little finger press halfway along the curve there. And we're going to do the same for this one. And then we are going to match up those finger press marks here, right sides together, and this little corner here, if it can line up on that, that's perfect. That means you're not going wonky or anything. You've got a nice position, and we're going to pin that in place along that little mark that we've made. Then we're going to take this tail here and we're going to line it up here like that, and then we are going to pin that in place, and we're going to do the same for the other side. We're just going to bring that round and we're going to lay those right sides together and pin that in place. Then we're going to take this to our sewing machine, and we're going to start up here. So I recommend you lower your needle down to anchor that in place before you remove your pin. You can then just gently stretch it out and align the raw edges of this part here to the C part underneath. So that will be held in place, and you're just going to line that up and then sew along there with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I recommend you stop when you get your needle down here, and then you do the same again. You just gently stretch out the fabrics so that they lay right sides together, and then stitch that round until you come to the end here. So I've got the needle down, and I'm just going to bring these fabrics so the raw edges align. I'm not going to worry too much here for now. I am just going to make sure that before the needle goes in that those fabrics are aligned, and I'm going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you get any folds or you can see something happening, just move that out the way and keep going till you get to the middle point. Okay, I'm at the middle point now, and I'm just going to do the same thing we did before. Bring that up here so that you've got them right sides together and the raw edges are aligned, and sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once that's sewn, it'll look like this. So you've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then we're just going to press that back and take that over and give that a press on our pressing mat or our ironing board. Okay, so the first side has been sewn on and pressed. I have pressed my seams open, or you can press them to the side. And now we're going to trim this down before we add the next side. So what I'm going to do is just measure a 1/4 inch from each of these seams here and trim that down. So I've got a line that's 1/4 of an inch above this seam here and 1/4 of an inch above this seam, or to the side of this seam here. I'm going to hold that down and trim it away. And then we can add the next side. So then we just take our remaining template and then right sides together, align this raw edge here to this raw edge here, and you can clip that or pin that in place. Once that is trimmed down, we are ready to add our remaining template piece. So we're just going to fold that in half and finger press, and I can just about see this one, but I'm going to just fold it in half again just to repress it. Then we are going to align those finger pressed pieces right sides together and pin in place. Then we're going to bring this side around here and line up to this raw edge here. And pin that in place. And then do the same for this raw edge, right sides together around here. Lining up these raw edges and pin that in place. And we're going to take that to the sewing machine again, needle down, and then we're going to just align these raw edges like this and sew that in place with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Stop when you get to this part, remove the pin, and then do the same thing for this side. Okay, and that's what it looks like. Then we're going to do what we did before, which is fold that out and press that. Okay, and I have pressed the other seam and we are ready to trim down this remaining side. So again, 1/4 of an inch up this side, and we want 1/4 of an inch there, so you can see I'm giving it 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Just bear in mind the finished size that your block has to be when trimming this. And then cut away the excess. And there is your finished orange peel block. And when you sew this in, if you sew it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, that means you will have just this tip visible, and the same for this side here, and make as many of these lovely little blocks as you need.